Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the program In the Shades of the Qur'an. For those who have just joined with us, our topic for today's discussion on this blessed day of Jum'ah and of course Arafah is Hajj and Eid al-Adha, merit and significance. As the Shaykh was telling, amongst the great season of worship is the first 10 days of Zul Hijjah. The same way, in the month of Ramadan, the last 10 nights are the best of nights because in it contains Laylatul Qadr. Shaykh, you have mentioned about a person who keeps fast on this blessed day, his previous year and the next year sins are forgiven. Now the question arises, in sins we know there is a classification between major and minor. So what is the Sharia consent on this issue?
Well, generally, sins are either shirk and then kabira and then saghira. Shirk, obviously associating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the akbarul kabair, the biggest of all the kabira, biggest of all big sins. According to the Qur'an, inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. Allah will never forgive shirk or committing associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless someone gives up the shirk and becomes a muwahhid, becomes a follower of Tawheed. So that's number one. Number two, as for the other kabair, other major sins, the consensus is that they are not forgiven without tawbah. So one must do tawbah. And tawbah, as we know it, tawbah means to come back to the fold. And tawbah has certain conditions. The intention, being remorseful, being being ashamed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what one has done, and this intention, this resolve that I am not going to do it again, I have given it up for forever. So these are some of the conditions of tawbah. So with these conditions, when these conditions fulfilled, when the tawbah is done, then kabira sin is forgiven. So that's number two. Number three, which are the saghair or saghira, the minor sins. These minor sins, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives because of other good deeds. So innal hasanati yudhibun as-sayyi'at, according to the Quran. Innal hasanati yudhibun as-sayyi'at. Good deeds actually get rid of all the bad deeds. So in this category comes in majority of the ahadith and majority of the promises, majority of the promises of forgiving sins that we find. For example, here in this hadith, that day fasting on the day of Arafah expiates or forgives or mitigates, or wipes out the sins of last year and the coming year. So these are all saghair, the minor sins.
So the ulama agreed upon the minor sins to be
forgiven. But of course, with this, if someone adds the tawbah, someone adds the tawbah with the intention, as I said, with being ashamed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and with the intention, with the resolve that I have given it up forever and I will not go back to it again, inshallah. If someone adds this tawbah, then obviously with the minor and major, all the sins are forgiven.
And is it not this time is the best time of the year? As there is a hadith saying, أفضل الدعاء دعاء يوم العرفة.
Yes. So, of course, the day of Arafah is the best day. And the best day in what sense? The best day in the sense that it is the biggest day for the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get purified from all the sins. That's the sins. I mean, Arafah day, on the day of Arafah, is biggest, not because, if we work on it, we will get, a bigger salary or things like that, or we we will get more benefit for more profits or in our business, etc., etc. So the sense that the Arafah, the day of Arafah, is told to be the biggest is the spiritual sense. The person, a slave of Allah, gets rid. Here is a chance for him to get rid of all the sins past. And this is why the Hajj is also, Hajj Mabrur. The Prophet ﷺ says that a Mabrur or an accepted Hajj will have made a person sinless, as if someone is a newborn.
I see.
So all these come together, bad together, to make the person to actually to encourage us, and to push us, to give us the incentive to go forward on this day and do all the good deeds as we do. And along with that, we do the tawbah as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, to get rid of all our sins, not the minor ones only, but the major ones as well.
Okay.
May Allah accept us, inshallah.
See, the hadith you mentioned that the person gets his whole sin forgiven.
Yeah.
Now, is it only restricted to the people who are present in the plains of Arafah, or Muslim across on that particular day?
We hope that it is not only for the pilgrims.
For the Ujjah, okay.
Obviously, those who are on the plain of Arafah today, they are the most fortunate people. We all long for it. We all yearn for it, and we all want and wish that we could have been there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to go time and again. Not, if not this year, those who have been this year, they are fortunate, but let us pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq in future to go there. But we hope that this forgiving is not only for the pilgrims, but for all others. In fact, this hadith that says that fasting on the day, this is not for Hujjaj, this is not for pilgrims. This is for other people, for those of us who are not there in the plain of Arafah, because on the day of Arafah, pilgrims do not fast.
That's true. I was coming to that.
Yeah, pilgrims do not fast.
It's not mandatory for them to fast.
No.
It's only
not even mandatory. They do not.
They do not. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
They do not. They should not. And therefore, this applies to only those who are like us today here, who are not in the plain of Arafah, who are not present in the. So yes, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the Arafah, as the many scholars says in here in the tafsirs, Surah Al-Fajr wal-Fajr wa-layalin ashr. Now, I would like to know from you, what is the wisdom behind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taking his oath by his creations, taking an oath by his creations? What is the wisdom behind it?
Well, this is taking oath or qasam. This is very, very common and very much repeatedly, mentioned in the Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made oaths of various and different creations of His. Now, what is the significance? The significance or meaning of that? The Creator taking oath or making oath by His creation, by His own creation. It is said that the qasam or the oath is taken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to signify the bigness or the significance of the thing that the qasam is made for, or the qasam is made with.
Okay.
وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Say, وَالْعَصْرِ. Asr, one of the meaning of asr is time.
Okay.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here, by time. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking the oath of time? Because time is important. Time is not only important, but time is life. This life that we have, 50, 60, 100 years, what is that? It's a portion of the unlimited, the limitless time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So our life is time. And therefore, this time is very important for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by taking oath of this time, He is telling us that this time is very important, so you make the best use of it. Be aware not to waste it. Time is life. And for a moment, time is success. Success in this life and success in the life hereafter. So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes oath or makes oath by His own creation, just to teach us, just to let us know the significance, the importance of that particular thing. So this is one, this is one explanation. But coming back to the wal fajri wal layali al ashr thing, I think that's
the verse, yes.
Wal fajri wal layali al ashr. This in Surah Al Fajr, as we know it. Wal fajri wal layali al ashr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making oath of Fajr, the time of Fajr, and 10 nights, first of all. Now, what are the 10 nights? Many mufassirin, many commentators say that these 10 nights are the 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah.
Oh, Dhul Hijjah.
There are other opinions as
yes,
well. But one opinion is the nights of Dhul Hijjah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here again, to show the significance, the bigness, the greatness of these 10 days and 10 nights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken an oath out here. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has come to wash-shafi'i wal-watri. The even, wash-shafi'i wal-watri, the even and the uneven number.
The odd.
The odd number, the even and the odd number. Now, shafa'un is the even number and watr is the odd number. And from there is salatul witr, watrun and witr. Now,
I will just come back onto this. I've been just told caller is waiting on the line, so I'll just take the call. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kindly, sister, if you can put through your question, please.
My question is, I want to know, for sisters who don't go to masjid in Eid mornings, what is the sunnah for them from the time of Fajr up until obviously the time where everybody's going to pray? What do they pray? Do they just pray the Fajr namaz and that's it? Or is there another prayer they have to do? And the other question is, in the place of Arfa on the TV, showing people are waving on the screen and they're talking on the phone. I mean, is that allowed during the time of pilgrimage and during the time of Arfa? If you can answer those two questions, please.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Sister. Yes, Sheikh.
Yeah.
The first question is, with regards to the sister, those who will not be going to the masjid, they will be at home. So what is the acts of ibadah for them at home on this very day of Arafah?
Day of Arafah or day of Eid?
Or even day of Eid. Or in general, we can even discuss the 10th of Dhul Hijjah in general.
Well, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, all the normal acts of worship, tilawat al-Qur'an, dhikr, sadaqah, fasting, salat, nafal salat, and all these, obviously we intensify them in those days. So on the day of, so that's how these days are observed in terms of more reward, getting more reward and more doing more worship or ibadah. Coming back to the question the sister asked about the day of Eid for those who do not go to masjid, ladies, women, for example, because sometimes in most cases ladies or women, or sometimes very old people, even men, they cannot go, they may not be able to go to the masjid. Obviously, first of all, on the day of Eid, by the way, I should mention.
I would have come to that anyway, but because they have mentioned
the that's right.
There, so
on the day of Eid, it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and it is a sahih, authentic hadith, Bukhari and Muslim hadith, that every one of the household should go out to the masjid, including women and children, including those women who are in their monthly cycles. Of course, when they go to masjid, they keep themselves away from the masjid, from the musalla, and they do not take part in the salah, but they go out. So all should go. Number one. Number two, if someone for any reason cannot go, do not go, then they can do the Salatul Eid 2 rak'at at home individually, from the time of Fajr, to the time of noon, Zawal, which is called, just before Zuhr prayer starts.
Okay.
Zuhr prayer time starts. So they can do it. Other than this, obviously, they can do on the day of the 2 nights of Eid, for example. This is one one very forgotten sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Sometimes it's quite easily forgotten, and particularly when the upcoming Eid is coming, and we are overwhelmed by the happiness, by the joys of Eid. We forget that the 2 nights just preceding the days of Eid are also nights of fadilah, nights of merit. So one can use those nights as well. Other than these, during the day, one has to remember that the days of Eid are the days of happiness and showing joy and relaxation and festivals and taking part in festivals and visiting welcoming guests and visiting relatives and other things. These are also things. So if someone do all this, which we do all anyway, with the good intention, then even these acts will be rewarded, inshallah subhanahu. These acts will be counted as a ibadah. So our sister who is asking if she has time, or those who are like her, if they have time to do zikr, for example, any zikr or tilawat al-Qur'an or any other nafil prayer, if they have time to, they can do it like any other day. For example, the Salatul Duha, they can do it.
But normally our sisters and mothers are always busy during the day.
But of course, this is
that's also part of the ibadah.
That's part of the ibadah. And somebody has to do it anyway.
That's true.
Therefore, those who are doing it on that day, doing this sort of celebration on that day, this very celebration, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, provided that they are done with the good intention and in the proper way, not involving with any munkar, not involving with any bad thing, any sin, any sinful acts, etc. Remember, on the day of Eid, in the name of joy and happiness and merriments.
We'll come on to that. But before that, obviously the sister shouldn't be disheartened, or the mothers who won't be participating in the Eid Jamaat or Masajids, they shouldn't be disheartened about it.
As I said, families should know that Eid is for everybody, and therefore keeping away, all the worries and all the other things of the day. Each and every one of the family needs to go to the masjid. The sunnah is going to the open for Eid day rather than to the masjid. This is what the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is what happens, in most of the Muslim countries. But here in this country, obviously, we have certain other situations and circumstances that actually do not allow us, particularly sometimes weather and permission, official permission, as all things are needed. And therefore, we cannot go. But so we go to masjid, which is fine. So each and every one of the family, including children, including women, they should have chance and should plan it. They should plan it.
But also at the same time, we would like to add, obviously, the description of modesty should also be always.
Yes, of course. Of course,
because we try to wear the best of clothes.
Those are separate issues or independent issues. Exactly. These issues of modesty and parda and hijab, they are issues, not only particularly for Eid or other things. That's
always there. There. The second question she asked is, normally, as we even have seen on the television, the Yom Arafah, always we do see people waving their hands or taking pictures or over the phone. What is the ruling on this issue?
Well, first of all, this is using a mobile and perhaps even taking a picture is not forbidden, is not haram per se, but it is in sheer and clear contradiction with the spirit of Hajj.
Especially on the day of Arafah.
Yes. Unfortunately, the mobile technology or the modern technology in terms of in the form of this mobile gadget has become such a common thing, and it has become such detractive. Even not only on the day of Arafah, if you go to Hajj or Umrah, you will see that people are doing tawaf. And this thing is on their hand, and they are, they're fixing it for taking pictures. My brothers and sisters, what is it? What are you doing it for? Is it just you are doing it for show? just doing it for the purpose for enjoyment as a holiday.
We do sometimes
Yeah.
even notice these
Yes,
days on
yes.
Facebook there is selfies taken
You are
and published.
one must remember where one is. One is in the front of Allah, in the front of the Baytullah, the house of Allah. And therefore, one needs to be respectful. One needs to be utmostly respectful, fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One should not be detracted, from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by all this. The same thing is on the day of Arafah. Arafah, as I said earlier, Arafah is the most significant day for someone to get rid of all the sins,
Especially
to become nearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can this one sensibly use the mobile at least on that day?
Especially it's not worth traveling such a long journey.
Engage with mobile and taking pictures and this.
But having said that, just to be on a neutral side, it could also be possible because sometimes it's very difficult for Hujjaj to even get to the Namira Masjid. So sometimes if we do, because I'm referring to those footages which normally is observed or seen inside the Masjid Namira. Yeah. So we can assume that it could be the local people around in Ihram, they could have done. But either way, we're not saying that obviously.
Well, as I said, we cannot, nobody could issue a fatwa.
Okay.
Otherwise, ulamas have issued fatwa that this is haram.
That's haram, I see.
So nobody can be issued.
It
is a matter of conscience, our own individual conscience, our own individual fear, and the sense and the feeling of being responsible, being accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why have we gone for that? What is Hajj? What is Hajj in the first place? Hajj is one of the ibadah in which, again, in light of the Qur'an and Hadith, in light of practice, Hajj brings so much of worldly benefits as well, and even doing business one for Hajj is allowed. These are all in their own right. They're all right. They're all acceptable. However, one must not lose sight of the actual purpose of Hajj, which is the spiritual upliftment, the spiritual purification, and therefore one must, each and every moment there one must spend in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One must not be detracted, one must not be diverted, from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by any means. So let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this conscience, that individual conscience and feeling that actually makes us the best people.
Yeah, having said that, but also it can be a lifetime memory with someone. So we would advise, or if you would advise, that avoiding is much better, or keep it minimum as much as possible. Is that what we would say?
Well, avoiding altogether is better.
Okay.
Avoiding altogether is better.
Okay.
But as I said, it might not be avoidable to say that. As I said, there are things that we do in this life. There is what is called good and better and best.
True.
So 3 degrees.
I'll come back to you, inshallah.
Yeah.
I hope the answer is clarified, and thank you very much for this beautiful question. I would say it's a very conscious and very beautiful question. We've got a second caller waiting with us on the line. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, brother, if you can put your question through.
I have a very quick question, and it's just around some clarity and maybe further explanation around.
Please
I was reading online around when you enter into the month of Dhul Hijjah, around refraining from cutting your nails and your hair if you're about to make sacrifice for Eid.
Yes.
I just wanted a bit more information around, who does that apply to? How relevant is it? And just a bit more information. If that's
Inshallah,
possible.
we'll do that. Any other questions, brother?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much. That's a very relevant question as well.
That's right.
Yes,
well, brother, thank you for this question. Primarily, obviously, this applies to Hujjaj, the pilgrims. But as an extension for those of us who are not in pilgrimage, who are not Hujjaj, we are in a kind of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ allowed us to be in a kind of, if I can put it in this way, just for clarification, for each understanding, that we are in a mini state of ihram. So who are those? Those are the people who intend to offer the sacrifice, the qurbani, the udhiyah. Those who have the intention to offer the udhiyah or the qurbani or the sacrifice, they are the ones who are advised and recommended not to cut their nails, not to cut their hair, like the pilgrims. So it is for those who intend to offer the sacrifice, not for others.
Okay, that's it. Jazakallah, Rafa. We've got.
And it's a recommendation. It's a recommendation, a strong recommendation. Again, just to clarify things, a strong recommendation. It's not a fard. It's not a requirement. It's not an obligation. But if you do it, you better.
It's okay. Jazakallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much for that question. We've got another caller waiting for us on the line. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Wa barakatuh. Yes, brother. Go ahead with your question, please.
Brother Ji, Jazakallah for putting on a beautiful program. My question and my anguish today is that it has been traditionally celebrated after Hajj. So straight after Hajj, Eid has been celebrated. But we have some channels, may Allah give them hadayah, telling people to fast tomorrow and fast today and make Eid on Sunday. Now my question is, why is our Muslim Ummah in this dilemma? That's the first question. And the second question is, our ulama, our shuyukh, why are they not addressing these issues? This is not about fitna, this is about correcting our religion. And if the ulamas are on this, then who will actually correct us?
Very important question. Jazakallah, Jazakallah, brother. Jazakallah, brother. I got the. It was part of my question. Basically, he's referring to the calendar issue. Now, we know this year, obviously, we have certain groups, I think very few, that will be celebrating Eid on Sundays. So that's why those who will be celebrating on Sundays, they're encouraging people. For them, the Arafah is on the Saturday. But people, those who are celebrating Arafah on 9th, which is today, for them, the Eid is tomorrow. Now, obviously, that puts not only this scholar, but many normal Muslim, general Muslim, into dilemma. Which calendar to follow? And number two, as the brother said, that how can we reconcile this issue?
Well, certainly this is an issue, and this is somewhat complicated, and it's a fiqhi issue.
Yes.
Which, as brother has himself mentioned, needs to be addressed by ulamas globally.
As he said, he said that.
Globally,
yes,
globally. There was a day when the world was not a global village.
That's true.
So each and every country individually was doing what they were doing, not knowing what the others are doing.
Sure.
But now, because of the technology and because of the globalization and the whole world becoming a global village, each and everyone knows, what is happening in the other corner of the world.
That's true.
And therefore, yes, I agree with the brother that this issue needs to be addressed globally as well as locally. Until and unless, obviously, we have an opinion unanimously or on the basis of the majority formed either way, then obviously we need to follow the local calendar. We need to follow the local calendar. So if we follow the local calendar, that is what the most practical things to do. That is what the most practical thing to do.
But then in this issue, we can see the ulama, some of the scholars even are a little bit divided on this issue.
Yeah.
So how do we resolve this issue? What is the best way? Because the gentleman, as he asked, what is the best way to resolve this issue?
Well, you see, one other thing I need to mention here is that when an issue of this nature, an issue like this, will never be one that is unanimous.
Okay.
Because there is no nas, because there is no, sort of clear-cut do or don't hadith or Qur'an in this. And in issues like this, which are called ijtihad or ijtihadi issues,
yes, true,
there is bound to be some difference of opinion. And therefore, we will never have, in matters of ijtihad, in matters of analogy, etc., we will never have a consensus of opinion. And therefore, there will be always difference of opinions. But that doesn't mean that things become invalid. Difference of opinion, it has its own etiquettes, it has its own ways and procedures, process and procedures in Islam. Following those procedures, difference of opinion is good. Difference of opinion is acceptable, and that's how we have got, this mazahib, all this. So coming back to this question, as I said, this needs to be addressed and addressed by ulamas of each country, and then perhaps ulamas of all countries together. We hope and we pray that even though it didn't happen until now, it would happen inshallah in near future.
Okay, now the caller, I think what he wanted to say is basically, if today is Arafah.
Yeah.
Now the problem is, now here, this is the catch here. If today is Arafah,
Yeah.
then we Muslims living in Europe, especially in UK or Europe or other parts of the world, especially the Western countries here. I mean, if today is Arafah, then tomorrow is Eid.
Yeah.
Then we know from based on the hadith that it is haram to fast on Eid day. Now, I can sense where that caller is coming. If tomorrow is Eid day and those who are fasting on Eid day,
Yeah.
what is the consequence of
Well,
that?
Eid day, this is relative. This is relative, and each will have the ruling according to their own situation, according to their own merit.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So if it is a Eid day for this country, and then we are doing the fasting on that day, then it is haram.
But then again, taking into consideration those people who are following that calendar, but we have another sect who are following a different calendar. For them, this is not the day of Arafah. Neither tomorrow will be there for Eid.
Well, because these are issues, as I said, these are issues, controversial issues, and issues that sometimes get beyond control of people. Because
we do see even
the day of Arafah, because it's all tied up with the moon, and moon sighting, etc. Now, moon sighting it doesn't occur simultaneously in all the countries we know. So like Ramadan, like Eid, like Arafah has the same situation. So that sort of situation that we have in Eid, we have in the beginning of Ramadan, in the beginning of Eid, the same situation applies here. And therefore, as I said again, it all boils down to one issue, that the ulama of the Muslim world getting together and making a decision. But until that happens, we all need to follow our local calendar. And in our local calendar, if there is difference, then we will. There is nothing we can do.
Okay.
So we will have.
So the best thing is,
days.
there can be difference of opinion, but division in opinion should not be allowed. Because what happens? We call others takfir, kafir. Allegations are being laid down.
That is true.
Allegations have been laid down that they can't be the true Muslim. We are the only true followers. And I think this is what normally happens. So it's best to avoid.
Exactly. Difference of opinion and division. You are right in pointing out to the direction. And also, if our brother, the questioner, who asked this question, he also might have this in mind, that difference of opinion leads to division and schism, and leads to unhappy situations where one blames the other, one feels that one is the better and the other is wrong.
We shouldn't have that.
No,
especially in this blessed month where it talks about unity.
That's right. These differences of opinions are based on ijtihad, and they are allowed in Islam. So, having tried one's best to take or make the best judgment, if one gets to the wrong conclusion, even then, the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith says that he will get one reward.
Okay.
So, difference of opinion is allowed, but division is not.
Okay.
And therefore, we must avoid division. We must avoid saying those who are not with me that they are wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jazakallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much for that beautiful question. One thing we have learned here, difference of opinion is allowed, but that doesn't mean we should create division. We have seen the big ulama and fuqaha, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Maliki, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahumullah. They all had difference in opinion, but that doesn't mean there was a division between them. The respect was there. So the thing we must learn from here is, the scholars can have a different opinion, but that doesn't mean that different should take over into a division or even some nasty allegation or accusations. With this regard, we have come to the second break. After we come back from break, we'll continue our discussion and we'll be talking and touching upon the etiquettes and virtues related to the Eid. Do stay tuned with us. We'll be back inshallah after a short commercial break. Assalamu alaikum.